Just so you guys know, you can hold on, but hold that thought for 1 second, Mike. You got this part of the video. You've got the live unedited edition. Home Gadget Geeks. It's September 27th, 2018. We're in pre-show. Mark is still doing some setup. Mike's got a story he's going to tell. But if you are if you're watching us live, and there's a bunch of you out in the chat room already, let's get a quick sound check. And Peter, if you would check Spreaker for me, that'd be awesome. And then we'll get started here. I don't know, 5, 6, 7 minutes, whatever. So, Mike, you were going to tell a story.
I was just saying those old Mediasonic boxes. When I left Crash Plan, I lost all my backups, and I had to decide: I have 12 terabyte now, Jim, of podcast files. Do I want to re-upload all those? And I decided no. I'll just make a second copy here locally, so those Mediasonic boxes are connected as unassigned drives to my Unraid, and I use Crusader to sync it. Now it is a manual sync. Every once in a while, I got to remember to go in there and tell it to manually sync, and it will sync from Unraid over to those devices to get them up to date.
It's a good way to do it.
I wonder what my Backblaze. Let me look here. So what did you end up at?
Me?
Yeah.
Well, all the PCs, I immediately went over to Backblaze. The Unraid server, I'm used Duplicati to back up to Backblaze B2. But I was a little more selective in what went over there. Photos, of course, and some other things, but not the podcast files. That was too much.
Isn't that when you're paying for it? Isn't that funny that you make a few more choices?
And I think the last time I talked to you guys, maybe it was through chat, I said I was at $12 a month. Because of the versioning and things that are happening, it's increased a little bit. I think I'm at $14 a month now for the stuff I have backed up there.
That's still good, because when I did the calculator, it was going to be like $25 a month for me for only like a few terabytes.
Yeah, something.
So you must be grandfathered into an old price or something.
No, I don't think so. I'm wondering. I'm only getting charged for storage. And that's what you were doing, Mike, is just recording this.
Because even if you just go out to the B2 website, and they have like the calculator out there.
Yeah. Let me look at Duplicati.
Let's see.
So I've created different groups in Duplicati. I'll look at my biggest one. So 2 terabyte there, 1.5 terabyte there. I'm probably only around 5 terabyte then.
Oh, okay. That would make sense.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was thinking it was more than that, but I think it's only around 5.
Let's see. 8. Let's see. Last bill, September 3rd. $8.
For how much storage?
$8.50. Let's see. One moment, please. It'll tell me on the invoice, right? No, it doesn't tell you on the invoice.
That's weird. It should.
Yeah, well, yes, it should. Should indeed. I'll just tell you what I have right now. Buckets. Let's go to the bucket. 1.6.
Okay.
So it's not too bad. I don't climb that fast.
Yeah.
So
mine's not climbing as fast as it used to, since I don't include the podcast files.
Right. Yeah, I bet. Peter, thank you for checking Spreaker. Appreciate that. We'll get started here in just a few minutes, guys. Hang tight. Mark, how are you? Where are you at in the process?
I'm good. I just get my I got a UPS plugged into another UPS, and it was batteries failing.
Oh,
like not as a battery backup to it, but just as a daisy chain, like surge.
Okay.
And it doesn't like the fact that there's something plugged into the surge side. I have a battery in order, just waiting for it to come in.
Talk about that real quick too.
Mark, reminds me of a IT call we got from somebody one day who said that the power wasn't working. So we had to physically go to their location and check what was happening, because nothing they were telling us was making sense. When we got there, found out that the power strip was plugged into itself. Along with everything that was plugged into it, it was plugged into itself.
I did that on a network device. I'm not going to lie. I had all these. I had 2 switches down here, and I've been doing a bunch of changing things around. And then the network stopped working, and I'm like, I was troubleshooting. So I got to that point where I'm just starting to unplug everything, and I realized that I had just looped one around. And you're like, well, that's going to cause problems. So
I'm trying to find a picture of something I took, but I can't find it on any of my.
Well, you keep
sources.
looking. Let me start the show. We got a few things to go before you can prep before we get to the barbecue stuff. We can do that. Uyghur, you have any grill stuff?
No.
Okay, fine. We got plenty. By the way, we have plenty to talk about.
Yeah.
So there's no. I have a few things I'm going to lead off with. And
we can all talk about food, I'm sure.
Yeah, that's none of us. Well, Uyghur's probably in good shape, but the rest of us could probably stand to walk a few more steps. All right, let me. Oh, Mike, we can talk a little bit about that. The little step challenge we
both declined this week too.
I know. Yeah, I just couldn't. Couldn't.
I knew it was going to be good for me.
I still check the app though in the community.
Sure.
All the time, just to kind of see where you're at. So
my numbers must be sucking because I haven't walked any.
Well, you've been working a lot this week, right?
Plus it's raining every night here, and I can't go walking. So yeah, my numbers stink right now.
It's a good week though. That was a fun week. Like
it was.
Everybody got after it, and between you, me, and Eddie, it was a race to the finish. I think I won by like 400 steps or something.
Oh yeah, you won.
That was a lot of work. I was sweating at the airport.
I did take a photo of it. So if we want to recall who really won.
I like it. Okay, let me kick this thing off. Here we go. This is the Average Guy Network, and you have found Home Gadget Geeks show number 372, recorded on September 27th, 2018. Here at Home Gadget Geeks, we cover all the favorite tech gadgets that find their way into your home. News, reviews, product updates, and conversation, all for the average tech guy. I'm your host, Jim Collison, broadcasting live from the Average Guy.tv studios here in a beautiful fall Bellevue, Nebraska. And, of course, we post the show each week. This week, show notes, I'll try to keep track of them. It's the grill and barbecue show this week. And I didn't open show notes. I probably should have. So we'll build those as we go. But we appreciate you guys checking them out there. Normally on normal shows, Mike and I get those kind of written in advance, but we didn't this week. But if you want to head out to the AverageGuy.tv, everything is listed out there. Don't forget, you can also join us on our mobile app. Probably the best way to join us live is on the mobile app. You can get it from anywhere. It automatically streams. It's just the easiest way to get it. Even if you don't think you're going to use it all the time, have it on your phone, have it available, Android, iPhone. We thank our Patreon subscribers for that. They're the sponsors of that, and we appreciate them doing that. Head out to homegadgetgeeks.com, and both Android and iPhone are available out there. Just renewed that with Spreaker and change the logos over to say that our Patreon subscribers. So thank you, Patreon. If you didn't hear last week and you're a Patreon subscriber, I did a quick solo show, although quick is 45 minutes, last week, and went through the whole list and posted the entire list in the show notes last week, and I appreciate you guys for doing what you do with Patreon. Don't forget, we're still gathering kind of the Home Gadget Geeks Fitbit group. If you want to get in there and get assigned, Mike Howard's got his Fitbit on, and you want to get in that Fitbit group, send me an email, jim@theaverageguy.tv, and I'll add you. A few of you have been doing that, and we've been slowly getting you in there. So supercharged, Mike, you and I, last week?
Last week, yeah.
We joined a group, we got on it, and we got after it, and it was pretty cool. Now, both you and I have been busy this week. I had to decline kind of the weekly challenge, but it seems like we get a weekly and a weekend, and it's a great way. I mean, it helps you stay active, right? I mean, you get out and you kind of track it.
I enjoy the competition. I love seeing where everybody else is, so you can watch who's getting ahead of you, who you're pulling ahead of. And yeah, there's some late night antics that sometimes go on to make sure you end the day ahead.
Not you. That's all me. No, it is probably you doing that. Oh, we know it's not Uyghur. Mike, welcome back. Good to have you back after a week off.
Yeah, it was good. Last week we had a fundraiser for the Dreamweaver Foundation here in Omaha, which does, they do dreams for seniors, for terminally ill seniors, which is kind of cool. You know, you think of people at the end of their life and they get to have a dream before it's their time. So it was a lot of fun. So yeah, took the night off, but it's good to be back. I wish I could join the Fitbit group. You got me all excited. I know I need some new. I need some Apple Watch.
There's got to be a way to cross over on that thing, right? Isn't there some way to? Couldn't you feed like doesn't Fitbit have an API to your Apple Watch?
Oh, that's interesting. I wonder if the Apple app could pull from my health.
I bet it can.
What about something like MyFitnessPal?
Yeah, but would that tie into the?
It could. There's got to be a way. There's got to be a way.
It takes them all together, right?
Yeah, I think so. Well, we'll have to look into that.
Competitions, because the new Watch OS and iOS 12 has competitions now. So I've been doing them with Hannah and my brother-in-law and my mother-in-law. Actually, we're all competing, but I want to join in on the fun with this one.
Yeah, no, it'd be good to get you in there. Well, we'll figure out. Maybe the chat room can figure out during the show what's the right combination to get, the watch users on Fitbit. I'm sure by now there's an integration where you could drop those in there and get your Fitbit stats. So maybe we'll get that figured out during the show. Yeah. And then, of course, back in, if you shouldn't follow this guy on Facebook if you don't want to be hungry every second of the day, Mark Robson is back. Mark, welcome back.
Thank you. You'll be back again.
Good to have you. I am a little jealous of all the cooking programs that you take during the, it seems like during the week and the weekends. You've got a great community up there that does a lot of that. I mean, they're always available. You're always at them. I don't know how you afford it all the time. Is it terribly expensive to do that stuff?
Well, in Canadian dollars, it's $100, $125. So for you guys, it's what, 25. But
not too bad.
No, it's so the brisket class was 125 for 2 people, and you came home with half a brisket.
Wow.
Nice. Burger class was $80 Canadian, and these are all Canadian prices, right? So knock off a full third.
Right.
So the burger class I took about a month ago was $85, and these are licensed too, which means that while they're feeding you, they're giving you a drink, giving you beer and wine.
Yeah, good way to do it.
Guys' night out one was more expensive, about 125, but that was craft beer tasting, bourbon tasting, and then 3 hours of nonstop cooking. So that was, we did tomahawk steaks, we did ribs, we did. He actually brought in a chunk of cow and actually carved the tomahawk steaks off the cow, and then took the meat from between the ribs and made sliders out of them. And then I think he had 5 tomahawks, so about 15 pounds of steak.
Wow. See, that would be cool to see, because I remember the first time, the first time I helped carve up a deer during deer season for hunting. That was one of the coolest parts, is like seeing how all the different parts of those steaks and the different things you always hear about and you cook, but you don't really, you don't know which part of the animal that comes from. It was a lot of fun to get into that part of the process. So I bet that was kind of cool to see him actually carve out those tomahawk steaks.
It was, and it's a tomahawk was something I've been trying to get to for a while, and I actually just did one. The first weekend in September is called Labor Day for us, and is it Memorial Day for you guys?
September?
Yeah,
Labor Day.
No, still Labor Day for us.
Okay, so
Memorial Day is in May.
So it's Labor Day weekend. I had some friends down, and we did a 3-pound tomahawk that I reverse seared. So 2.5 hours to cook it, and I wouldn't have done it if I hadn't taken his class. But even then, I didn't use his method to do it. And I talked to, there's 2 chefs that run it, and I talked to the older chef, and I saw the way he was doing it, and I said, I'm doing one this year, but I'm not going to do it that way. I told him I was going to do it, and the chef looks at me and goes, yeah. He says, you're doing it the right way. He said he's doing it for class, and it works, but the way you're going to do it is the right way.
Nice.
So,
I've been cooking a lot more, or grilling. That's not really the right term, but maybe pan frying, using cast iron for steak. Or chicken inside, and you have to turn the fan on to keep the smoke alarm from going off sometimes. But we've been doing a lot more with the HelloFresh stuff we've been doing. We've been doing a lot more of just doing that inside. Typically, I would have the meals would have been bigger, and I'd take it out to the grill. But for just 2 things of chicken or 2 steaks, put it in the cast iron. And I am so surprised at how good a steak is. Salt, pepper, a little olive oil in a pan. Like you don't have to be super fancy with it. You don't have to have a bunch of super fancy, and you can if you want to, but man, right out of the pan, super delicious. And Sarah even said to me, I cooked a couple steaks the other night. She's like, did you put anything else on this? Because HelloFresh is big on salt and pepper, right? That's their thing of choice. So that has been, I'm ready for the winter, Mark. I don't, even when it's cold and snowy out there, I think I've done a lot. I've done enough grilling or, cooking inside this summer that I'm ready to do my winter meats inside. I have been, one of the keys on the steak is just add a little bit of butter. I saw Gordon Ramsay do that.
In a pan, you can do that.
Yeah, in a pan. Right. Yeah.
A secret to steak, I'm about to post it in the chat group, but a secret in steak is to get this stuff called SPG from Sucklebuster's. And this stuff, they cannot keep it on the shelf in the barbecue store.
Really?
They get a whole shipment of this stuff in from these guys of like 25 or 30 different flavors of rubs and sauces. And this one disappears.
Only 8 left. Oops, 7.
Sucklebusters, if you couldn't understand Mark's Canadian accent, is what that
Sucklebusters
is what that is. Well, it's been it has been a good summer of kind of indoor cooking for me, of kind of, you know, pan or cast iron grilling. Last night we made kind of a super fancy mac and cheese that had French bacon, and I forget what they call that, but they cubed their bacon instead of.
Okay.
And it's not quite all the bacon. It's not all the way to the bacon on the meat, but it's kind of between the ham and the bacon. Anyways,
pancetta.
That's what it is. There you
Italian.
go. Yeah, Italian. Thank you. And so it's cubed, and again, throw that in the pan. Let that kind of just go for 5 to 7 minutes. That seasons the pan real nice. Pull that off. We made the cheese sauce right back in that pan, and then added that back in. You know, boiled the noodles. It was a fancy noodle. I forget the name of that too. For that, then mix that all together, and then take the whole cast iron pan and throw it in the oven at 450 for 5 to 7 minutes. And that, if you take mozzarella or even some Parmesan on top and let that go till it bubbles, and pull that out. Oh my God, it's like a super fancy mac and cheese. Super good, super good. Yeah. So hold on, let me. What are you showing us? Yeah, you're doomed, Uyghur. I hope you got a snack.
I'm so hungry.
What do you got, Mark?
You mentioned pancetta.
Yeah.
So that's 4 pizzas we made, and I think 2 of those have pancetta on them.
Those pizzas look good.
That was
a new thing for me. I hadn't had that before, and
750 degrees.
I'll buy again. And now, that's oven cooked?
No.
Okay.
You can't get this is 750 degrees, so you can't get your oven up that high.
True. So how'd you do it?
On my egg.
Okay.
But I got it so hot that it actually burnt the wooden handles off the ash pan. But it worked. That barbecue doesn't owe me nothing. That's been 5 years of cooking on that thing and abuse like that on a semi-regular basis.
I was going to throw a general question to you guys, because I'm getting ready. You know, I've been talking about moving. I don't think we're going to do it yet this summer, but probably next. And of course, I'm going to replace my grill when we move. And I've been looking, for the last 2 months, I've been going in the stores, you know, kind of looking at the grills. I've got this really crappy Sunbeam that I have held together since '96, right? My grill is old and I love it, right? I mean, I understand it. I know it. I know how to cook on it. It's awesome, but it's going to get replaced. So, you know, I'm not you, Mark, I'm not going to go buy 4 of these things. I'm going to buy one. I smoke occasionally. And then I also smoke a cigar occasionally too, which is always great. So I smoke occasionally, not a lot. Sarah's not a big fan of smoking. I thought she would be more of a fan of it, but she's not that smoky flavor. So we don't do it as much as I thought we were going to. So for me, in that 300 to 500 range, you know, for a grill, I'll take recommendations from the 3 of you, kind of thinking through what's the right, you know, I'm not going to go $1,000 on a Traeger or something like that, but what's the right, and Mark, you probably got a few suggestions right off the top of your head, but what would you do in that kind of situation?
The one I hear, I think it's a Weber 310. I think that's one I had a friend that recommended that too after doing some research on another forum. It was a Weber propane one. I tend to tell people the same thing I tell them when they're looking at getting rid of cable or satellite and going to streaming, is don't get rid of what you know, just augment it with something else. So my idea would be for you to, if you're going to replace your Sunbeam, replace it with another good gas grill, right, and go and buy a cheap Weber to play with. And then once you start playing with charcoal again, and you can do everything with the Weber. You can cook on charcoal. You can cook indirect. Chicken wings on there are great. There's a thing called a Vortex you can use. But you're only looking at about $100 or $150 US to get a nice Weber kettle and play with it. And then when you want to do burgers and dogs, you can either do it in the charcoal or you throw it in your gas, and you're not limited. I bit the bullet and I went all charcoal or pellet. And I use my Traeger if I'm going to do hot dogs and stuff, but I use my Rectech if I have a lot of people over or I'm cooking a lot of food or I'm doing an overnight cook because it's got a really good controller. I'm doing beef ribs and brisket Saturday morning, and that'll be 16 or 18 hours of cooking on it, and I don't have to worry about it. It has a 40-pound hopper to run for 40 hours, but for what you're looking for, I would buy a good gas grill, probably Weber or Napoleon, and buy yourself a cheap kettle to play with.
Yeah, I'm kicking myself a little bit because I was at Target as they were clearancing. This is the perfect time of the year, at least here in the United States, to pick up that kind of grill. And they were clearancing the kettles with the Weber kettles with the premium package, right? So it's got the catcher on the bottom and the fancy equipment. They were $109.
That's
and I thought, ooh, I should totally get this. And it was red, which would have been great. And then I chickened out at the last minute. I'm like, no, I'm gonna have a busy fall. I won't have time to do. I'm such an idiot. So, but Weber for on the gas side, for that price range, you'd say a Weber, huh?
That's from what I did some research for a friend of mine who was looking for a grill, and she went and bought one. It was about $900 Canadian, so $500-600 US, not on sale.
Yeah, I can get it
right now.
I got a 310.
That one too. That Spirit, the Weber Spirit 310 is the one that my buddy and I were looking at. He actually ended up grabbing it, and he said it's the best grill he's owned. He loves it.
I think I told you about that one too, Mike, in the spring.
I think that's when I suggested it to him. Maybe that's why.
Yeah.
Yep.
$499 right now. $499 US here on Amazon. Mike Howard
on Bobcat deals.
Yeah, the Spirit 2 E310 is the one I'm looking at. The Weber.
Okay. Spirit E310.
That's the one I'm looking at.
Yeah. Second version then.
Mike
it's been a while since I bought a grill. You know, I have. For me, I wouldn't get the Rectech because it's really a smoker. Like Mark was mentioning, I don't. I do most of my steak grilling and hamburgers on my gas grill, and really the Rectech is for longer smokes. I've done burgers on there, and they're fine. They're good on there, but as a main cooker for stuff like that, I'll do it on the gas grill.
And there's a lot of marketing play that people are trying to say that they're great for everything, right? It's not that you can't cook everything on them, but they're not. A seared burger on a charcoal grill to me is a better burger than trying to smoke it. And
I'd agree.
Yeah, it's been a while since I've done charcoal, and I am kind of looking forward to going back to it. I might try to do the same thing next fall or something when we move. I'm trying to actually declutter and not add more right now, but I'm starting to, I want to kind of keep my eyes open for some things. What about ceramic? If I'm thinking about, is that a good first or first grill to have, or is that a specialty?
I would ceramic and metal. You can group them all together. It's called Komodos. Mm-hmm. They're all the same style of cooking. Mm-hmm. The best bargain out there is that Acorn that Ken ended up buying, and it's what I started off with, and it does everything well. It's a bit of a small surface. It's about 18-inch grill on it. It's cast iron grill. You can do high heat. That's what I did the pizzas on. So you can do super high heat on it. You can do low and slow. You can get a PID controller for keeping temperatures up. But to my mind, you're still better off getting you can go for a Weber, and the one I was looking at was a Weber Genesis 310. It looks a little different from the Spirit.
Okay.
Genesis, I think, is more like $1,000.
It's 900 Canadian.
Yeah.
The Spirit, I think, is one step down from it. I think Genesis is the next step up. But as far as a charcoal grill, there's nothing wrong with an Acorn Komodo, and you can find them. You can find them on clearance at Walmart for like $100 sometimes. They're lighter than a ceramic. The only downside is you want to put a cover on it, but I got 5 years out of mine and things still going strong.
Okay. I was at Menards and they had them, and I was like, oh, and I think it was the Acorn brand too. I was like, and they were clearancing them. And so I was kind of like, okay. Well, that's perfect. You've given me some. I'm gonna look at the Weber line. I keep my eyes open for something and kind of see what in that 310 line. The Spirit line, and I think it's a little smaller, a little bit cheaper. The Genesis line, a little bit larger, a little bit more expensive, at least new. Probably we're talking $700. So that's a little bit on the price point there. I'll keep my eyes open.
If you were going to go with charcoal too, I mean, you could always go with one of the cheaper. So Green Mountain is a cheaper version of the Traeger, or even one of the smaller Traegers, and then you would have if you were already going to get the charcoal, you would have a charcoal option, and then you'd also be able to get into the smoking if you wanted to, because you can get one of the smaller Green Mountains for the same price as that Spirit too. And so
you do charcoal on those?
On what?
On the Green Mountain?
No, but I mean, if he was gonna get, I think you had Jim. You had said you might even just get both, right? You get a charcoal.
I was thinking I'd get just a Weber, a kettle.
Yeah.
At $100, at $100, find one for $100 somewhere, and then have that would be my charcoal option, and then replace the Sunbeam with something else.
Right.
Yeah, whatever that is.
I actually like the Green Mountains more than Traeger.
Do you?
Yeah, and actually, there's a RecTech now has a smaller line too, which is getting good reviews.
Yeah, I love my Green Mountain. I just wish the hopper was a little bit bigger.
40-pound hopper on the RecTech.
That's awesome. I don't even know what mine is, but it's got to be small.
40
I think it's
pounds.
about 20. Yeah, 40 pounds.
I wake up to that beep, the really high pitched beep. I can just hear it because I put the smoker right outside our bedroom window, so I can hear it.
40 pounds. That's a lot of pellets.
It does about a pound per hour, so you can you can do it 40 hours of cooking. But so we have a long weekend in August, beginning of August. I did 16 hours one night and 15 hours the next, back-to-back cooks.
Yeah.
All on one hopper, huh?
On one hopper. Actually, I filled up after the second day, but after the first day, but you couldn't tell. It was the hopper down 3 inches. So I put a 20-pound bag in 3 inches.
Mike Howard, what's the longest you've ever smoked?
The longest, I think, is 18 hours. I did a pork butt for 18 hours, I think it was.
Nice.
And I had this, I had the RecTech 680 that Mark's talking about with the 40-pound hopper. And yeah, I never gotten close to run out. And, if you haven't looked at it in 40 hours, you're probably doing something wrong. So you can go out there, and if it does run a little low, you can put more in there.
Yeah. That's all weekend. You're out there.
And I've also done something where, maybe the first part of the smoke, you want to get a certain flavor on the meat. So you're maybe going really low, and on the RecTech, even doing something where they call extreme smoke, where it's doing some more smoke. And I might put one flavor of wood pellet in there that's going to give it a little bit stronger flavor. And then, because I was running short on that pellet, and then put on top of that some other pellets I'm ready to burn these. I don't care. And that's later on, the meat's not going to get as much of that smoke flavor. So I'll let that burn for the rest of the burn.
It's a good way to do it.
I got to say the RecTech, I bought my RecTech is 5 years old, and I bought it used from somebody else. They have had the best customer service out of anybody I've ever dealt with on any product. They blew me away with the level of support on a 5-year-old grill. They came up with a new controller, and it was selling out. They were selling them Wednesdays at noon, and they would sell out in literally 3 minutes.
Still sold out.
They're still sold out.
Yeah, I went there tonight to buy it, and it's not shipping until end of October.
So they're releasing say 20 or 30 a week. Some people are saying they're releasing 200 a week, but they're releasing an X number a week, and it's so that they can keep the support calls down when people install them. So I called them up and I said I tried buying it online. I had it in my cart. But because I'm from Canada, I can't do an online purchase. So the guy said, no problem. Call this person. He'll help you out. So I called him up and the guy said, how can I help you? I said, well, I want a controller, but I don't think I can get one because I'm not on the list. And the guy says, no. He says, that's taken care of. You get one of those. You had to pay for it, but you're getting one. I said, okay, well, I'm also looking for a new drip pan. He says, well, that's a warranty item. Well, anybody who knows these smokers, it's a can that catches grease on the outside. To have that as a warranty item is
insane.
And then I said, well, my igniter seized up in the fire pot, so I couldn't get it out. So I need to buy a new fire pot, but I want to upgrade to the new one. He says, well, that's a warranty item too. If it's seized up, we're going to replace that under warranty. But because you're buying the new one, the different style, we'll just give you a discount off of that one. And then I said, I want a new RTD. My RTD wasn't failed, but I figured if I'm buying everything else, I'll just get an RTD because I got to pay duty when it comes across the border. Mm-hmm. And the guy says, oh, RTD, that's a warranty item too. Like, okay. So they gave me $60 worth of parts for free on a grill that I bought used from somebody else that they don't know the history of. And then when it came in, it was missing the temperature probes. So I called the guy back up and I said, okay, well, I'm missing the probes. He said, don't worry, we'll take care of it. I said, I want to buy a hat. He goes, oh, which hat? So I tell him, he goes, okay, but because we forgot to give you the probes, we're going to give you the hat for free. So $60 or $70 for the parts for free on a and apparently this is not the only time they've done that. These guys are people order parts and all of a sudden they'll get 6 or 7 rubs with the part just because like it's
nice.
It's a really nice. They really look after their people, the customers.
When I bought mine, Mark, they're South Georgia. I drove down there because I didn't want to have to pay for shipping or whatever, and I wanted it right away. So I drove down there and picked it up, and got to go in their office and see the warehouse full of these things, and super helpful, super nice. We went sat down in the office with somebody and talked it all through about what I wanted, and they helped me with the purchase, and then loaded it in my truck and took off with it.
So I can get a RecTech RT700 bundle, Wi-Fi enabled portable wood pellet grill, built-in meat probes, stainless steel, 40-pound hopper, 6-year warranty, hot flash ceramic ignition system, $1,500, but free shipping.
That's what I have.
Is that what you got?
Well, I have the 680, which is the same thing with my upgrades. It's identical thing except it's red cover instead of black. So I turned my 680 into the 700 with this new controller and the new fire pot.
Uyghur, how about a $1,500 grill? Are you in?
I mean, mine was 800.
Oh, okay.
But so no, probably not 1,500. But I love my Green Mountain. The one thing I was gonna ask, so I don't know if you guys, so as these things start to age, the one thing I've noticed with mine is that smoke will start to seep out, maybe around where the door closes, rest around the outside or up by the hinges for mine. Have you guys done any sort of, do you guys ever do any sealant around on the outside? No?
The way I look at it, my egg is pretty much airtight. Like you can shut off the fire, and same with my Weber, you can shut the fire off without just by cutting the air off on it. A smoker makes smoke when smoke leaves the chamber. So I'm not worried about any of the smoke evaporating or escaping because it has more smoke coming behind it and drawing draft back out of it. And if you look at the guys like Franklin Barbecue and all those guys, there's no sealant at all in those things. There's like 1/8 gaps around the doors. They don't care. The smoke just goes in and it goes back out again. If it was something that you're concerned about the heat, yeah, you could do it. And there's guys that put kits on them. But my smoker is the thing is a holy mess to begin with. Like they're designed to have a lot of leaks in them just to let the air go through and the smoke out.
Okay. Yeah, Mike, in the RecTech forums on Facebook, there's people who have bought this high heat tape or whatever you put around the lid, and I actually bought it. But then after reading more about it, I heard the same thing Mark's talking about. It's not a bad thing that smoke was coming out of the top of the lid instead of just coming out of the smokestack.
Right.
So I ended up not using it. Mine does leak sometimes, especially if I'm using one of those amazing tubes to add even more smoke. It definitely will leak out of the top of the lid and not all out of the smokestack. So it is, when I looked at it, said that can't be right. I want it to all go out the smokestack. That's what I see
every time. I'm like, this can't be right. I've got to be losing heat or something. But okay, if it's, I'll trust the professionals here. And
I'll show you a picture of mine when it fires up. This was, well, it was in the double digits. I had to cook something. Where'd my mouse go? I had to cook something at early in the morning one time, and this is a Facebook post, so it's not the biggest picture, but
okay, so that's what mine looks like when it's going. Okay,
this is a 5 a.m. run, and this was actually cooking. It was it's a different controller. It's a Smoke Daddy controller. It puts out a little bit more smoke. I got smoke coming out the drain hole. I got smoke coming out the vents. I got smoke coming out the hinges. Sometimes the hopper.
Yeah, the hopper I've noticed. And then the drain hole is the funniest. It's almost like a little spout going out the bottom right side.
Yeah.
Smoke. Okay.
I don't worry about the smokers. I don't worry about. It's I figure the more smoke comes out, the more smoke will be generated.
Yeah, Mike, you did mention something I wanted to ask too when you talk about as your grill ages, as your smoker ages, because Mark, you talked about your lid you replaced. Mine, I have the old I don't know what is the original RecTech red lid that is starting to peel and on the edges, and I need to replace that. But also inside of the smoker, I'm starting to have some stuff that rust out. Even with the cover on it, those things I don't think are completely waterproof because I'll still get some wetness happening.
Yeah, I know guys have taken them and powder coated them. I had the original lid. Mine's the painted style before they did powder coating.
Yeah.
But again, if I look at the guys that are the heavy duty barbecuers from Texas and stuff, theirs are just painted black. And if they have an issue, they sandblast it, paint it black again. And like
what about
a smoker is a very simple machine for them.
What about that high heat paint in a can that you can get?
Yeah, guys have done that too.
Can you use that inside of the smoker?
It's not food safe.
Okay, so that answer is no.
Yeah, you don't know what it's going to do to off gas it, right?
Yeah, I'll just go with no.
I had that problem on the back. So when in the winter, I put on like I call it the blanket, right?
Cover.
It keeps it all nice in there. But on the back, it kind of, I don't know if it was from running or whatever. Well, first of all, the thermostat or whatever, the temperature probe that actually just tells you the internal temp, that was done for after it had sat in that blanket. It must have gotten too hot in there for that thing. And then on the back, there's a little, about a circle spot about yay big, where it started to kind of rust out a little bit, which I thought was odd, but it was only after using the blanket for a winter season that it did that.
Blankets aren't good in high heat.
So that must have been it.
They actually tell on Traeger's one, they actually tell you don't use it above 0 degrees Celsius. So in the winter, I only use it for low and slow anyway, so I don't worry about it, but mine gets scratched up from the blanket. Okay. But again, my grills are not the cleanest thing. You can barely see it in that picture, but there's soot all around the front of it, and when you use a blanket, it discolors the cover on it. And
that's what I noticed.
At the outside, you can go and just get the rust off with probably a Brillo pad, and then just get the barbecue paint.
Okay.
You're not going to touch the meat with it.
Right. Yeah, you're right. It must have been one of the few times where I probably ran it up real high to kind of burn some stuff off, but I had the blanket still on. I didn't think about that.
Hey, other Mike, you can probably use scrub it down and just put some like peanut oil or something, or grapeseed oil to stop it rusting.
Yeah. Jim, did you ever buy the frog mat
things? I did. I bought 2 of them. Yeah.
I had to rebuy mine tonight because last smoke I did for Labor Day, I opened up the grill and they were still laying there, but chunks were eaten out of them. So something got in there.
Yeah.
Something got in there and decided to have some frog mat with whatever was left on it.
It started by licking them, and then I was like, hey, this stuff's pretty good. And now that it has silicone in its stomach. Or I think those are made out of, I don't know. Those are super handy.
I wasn't going to reuse it after I saw the holes.
Yeah, no, right on. I actually burned holes through mine. Okay. Got it too hot, got it over a flame. They don't do the best with flame. And that's okay. I can still cook on it. We've been doing a lot of sweet potato. And so if you cube those sweet potatoes and throw them on that frog mat, man, that is some of the best sweet potatoes I've ever had. And they're just, they cook well under that scenario. No spray, no nothing. Just throw them in the frog mat. Now, Mike, I actually snipped, frog mat's just a pad for those folks that are listening on audio. Frog mat comes in a pad. I actually cut mine down and then I pinched up the corners to make a rim. And then I took some tin foil, rolled it up till it was like a string, and then I put it around each corner and screwed it so it would hold those corners. So they're up, I don't know, about maybe an inch and a half, or all the way around. So I have 4 mats because I was dropping stuff. I was throwing it on the mat, and then I was having trouble in the back with things falling off, out the back.
Right.
And sometimes I take the meat to create a wall on the sides. I put that mat down, then you kind of use the meat as the wall. But and so folding it up really changed the way I use that mat, and it is fantastic. The other thing we do is like bell peppers and onions and that kind of mix. Put that all in a bowl. Sarah puts some kind of dressing with it, and then we throw that on the grill and just let those go. Same things you'd use on a shish kebab for flavors. Or you can also put pineapple in that way. That works really well in chunks. So chunked pineapple will work that way. So the frog mat's that was a great recommendation. I'm to the point where I probably need to buy another one. I mean, I've used it so much.
Yeah, no, they're awesome. Yep.
I tend to use coated cooling trays now. So you get buy some cheap cooling trays, like cookie cooling trays. The things you put them on. Yeah. Spray them down with oil, and then put what I want on top of them, like a bunch of white balls or something, and then put that whole thing into it. But then you can toss them in the dishwasher.
Yeah.
I like the frog mat, but I don't like the fact you got to clean them by hand.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I kind of treat it sometimes like I treat the grill, where I just throw it on and let it heat up, and then throw the stuff on it. Yeah, just like it's good enough.
flavor
type deal. Yeah, right on. I mean, I don't know how sanitary it is. I don't know, but that's what I do. So no judgment there on any of those. One of the thing. Oh, go ahead.
Speaking of pineapple, has anybody tried swine apple yet?
No.
Describe that.
So you core out a pineapple, and you stuff it with seasoned chunks of pork meat, like pork shoulder, and then you cook the whole thing inside the pineapple. So when you carve it open,
that sounds good. Now I've done the other thing where we've done chops. You know, we get these big, thick chops, and I'll actually. So we've got that Pampered Chef pineapple core, which. Like, if you guys have anybody core their own pineapples?
I have never done that.
Never done this? Okay, so Pampered Chef, they've got them all over the place. It's just a plastic cylinder that's got a long cylinder on it, and it's got a little blade on it, a little plastic blade. It doesn't even need to be very sharp. And you put it on top, you cut the top of the pineapple, bottom of the pineapple off, and then you put it on the top and you just spin it in. And it spins around and completely cores your pineapple out for you. Well, it does a spiral cut. And then all you have to do is take your knife. So you pull it out. The core is in the center of that plastic piece. So you pop that out and throw it away. Although if you are ever going to infuse, and I need to do this, if you're ever going to infuse water with pineapple, that would be the way to do it. That core is juicy. It's just you would never eat it, but man, it would transfer. You just kind of gnaw on it.
Yeah.
And so you oh, there we go. Well, Mark, we'll talk about that here in just a second. So you pop the core out, and then it leaves you this perfectly round, Mark, and I think this is kind of what you're talking about, this perfectly round cylinder cleaned out of the pineapple. And you could just, in this case, like what Mark's talking about, you just stuff that full of pork, put it on the grill, and let that thing slow cook for a while and do pretty well. I just take a knife then, and I just slice that into quarters. So I get these long quarters of rind. They're rind on the outside and pineapple, again, juicy pineapple on the inside. So instead of putting the pineapples on top of the pork chops when we're grilling them, I throw those rinds on top. And it keeps it moist and pineapple-y, and for chops, it is pretty amazing. And I can get 8 pretty thick toppers for these out of a single pineapple. So you could do 8 pieces of meat that way. So that has been one of my favorite things to do in the summer. It works well. Mark, what are you showing?
So this is that swine apple. So it's sort of what you said. It's a cored pineapple, but then they also wrap it in bacon, and then you slow cook it.
Ooh, the wrapped in bacon part. That sounds
wrapped in bacon. Then you put the pork loin or whatever inside the.
Yeah, pork tenderloin, sort of slivers of pork tenderloin that you season, and you stuff it inside it, and you cook the whole thing together.
It looks awesome.
That's one of the things I want to try next year.
There are some fancy ones on pineapple cores that are on Amazon, but let me see if I can find one that you can, like I said, you can get them from anywhere. Pampered Chef. Let me take this.
I've seen them before, but the ones I've seen are also they pull the whole pineapple at the same time.
Yeah, you screw them in, and then they go through, and then you can suck it out or push it through. Yeah. And then the core is in the center. Here's a good example. Let me share my screen really quick with you guys. So here's a good example of what that what that piece looks like. And then the top, that gray button, you just pull that in, and the top comes off, and inside there is the pineapple core. And you would just push that through with a knife or whatever to get it out, and then I like to do it right into the bowl. So get a nice bowl, then put the pineapple in the bowl, because they're super juicy, right? So spin that thing till it's all the way through, pull it out, pull it through. You've got this spiral pineapple thing, and then just take a knife and just slice it down the side, or or quarter it or half it, and it's all the juices there, and it makes it super easy to do pineapple. So any time of the year, at least here in Nebraska, we can get pretty good pineapple most time of the year. and you can cut your own fresh pineapple. And I'm not going to lie, I can't stop eating it once I start. Like it,
Oh, I love pineapple. Yeah.
It goes, I mean, it goes on everything, and you can add it into everything. One of the things I've been doing, if I just take a single slice, go out and just put them straight on the grill and let those things char on one side, right? Flip them over, get a little bit on the other, but get one side kind of charred. Then bring them back in and put them in the fridge so that the sugars come back in. You don't want to eat them warm. They're not as good warm. Get them cold again, and then serve those things. Man, the kids eat that stuff like it's candy. And
you can also put brown sugar on it.
Yes.
Oh,
yeah.
There you go.
No, it's a good way to do that. And that'll caramelize, right? It caramelizes those sugars in there, and it's super good. So that's a quick thing you can do. For me, as you're warming up the grill, you can throw that pineapple on there early and kind of get, as the grill's getting going, get those things cooked, throw them back in the bowl, throw them in the fridge, cook your stuff. And then by the time all that's done and you're coming back in, those pineapples have cooled down to a manageable temperature. So, because you want them cold. It's so weird because one time I cooked them when I was first trying these out. I cooked them and I pulled them off hot and I ate one, and you're like, oh, this is awful. But once they get cold, they're fine. And so there's another. Go ahead, Mike.
I'll have to try that. That sounds awesome.
Yeah,
I love pineapple.
It's really good. And that little core, like I said, I think we got ours from Pampered Chef. But those you can find them just about anywhere, and they're pretty cheap. Get the plastic ones.
I've not been adventuring too much with my cooking. I know Mark has done a lot, but I've been sticking to the ones I know or semi-know. The pork butts, the brisket every now and then, which I haven't perfected, ribs, which I love the ribs, whole chickens and chicken wings. We did ribs for Labor Day, and I follow that. I've talked about on here before, that simple 3-2-1 method that it just works for me with a little bit of a change. A 3 hour, 2 hour, 1 hour doesn't always work, but they've come out every time just fantastic.
Not the same as you. That's kind of my go-tos, right? Your pork butts, your ribs, and your chicken wings.
Yeah, I gotta do wings. I gotta learn how to do wings because
easy.
I know,
wings
but we just never do. I never do them.
A Weber, do it on a Weber offset.
Right. Or put the coals in the middle and put the wings around the outside. Right. Yeah. I need to do more wings. So we go to Buffalo Wild Wings and spend $60 for something I could be grilling for 10.
Yeah, I just go to Walmart or Kroger or Publix, whatever, buy the frozen bag. You thaw them out, and then I will usually brine them for a while to get a little bit of flavor in there, and then just cook them.
Yeah, I got to do more wings. What are you showing, Mark?
That's beef ribs. I've been playing a lot with beef ribs this year.
Oh wow!
I've tried beef ribs, but the ones I get always have so much fat in there.
Yeah, you need to find. So I'm going to show it. I'll close this one down. I'll put up another one. But those are beef short ribs. I'm going to find. I get some tomorrow from a butcher shop. Saturday morning, and I think they call them plate ribs, and 8 ribs is 9 pounds.
Wow.
And they shrink up, and they're almost like ribeye steaks on a bone. They're absolutely amazing.
Mike, what are you showing?
I'm showing you some chicken wings, Jim.
There we go, on the frog mat.
Yeah, back when I had them.
Back when they were burnt.
Yeah, no, that's you just lay them out on the frog mat. I've seasoned them or whatever. Yeah. And I never remember the cook time, so I have to look it up each time. But it's not that long. It doesn't take that long to cook the wings.
And then do you throw them in a bowl for sauce?
I do. I don't do it on here, so I come off with just whatever seasoning I'm going to do, and then I let the person who's going to eat it add whatever sauce. Because like my one son wants it really hot. Another son, my wife, doesn't want it more mild. They may want garlic or whatever. So I don't want to sauce them too much while I'm cooking them. I let that happen, on the back end.
Mike, when you're cooking, when you're doing wings, do you do separate bowls for the various heat, or do you just do one flavor?
We usually do ours dry. So we have a seasoning to them. So I'll put them, before I do it, I'll put them in a bowl, put a little bit of olive oil in there, put the seasoning in, and then close the bowl up and shake it and get that all over everything. And then we'll put them out so we're not, we don't do the wet sauce on them too much. I should. I just never have.
Yeah, that would be great. Mark, what are you showing now?
These are beef ribs, so I'll see if it actually worked through the slide. Before I get into it, though, have you guys tried using baking soda on your baking powder on your wings?
No, what does that do?
No,
it makes them crispy like they came out of a fryer.
Really?
Really?
So okay, so just coat them first in baking powder.
It's got to be baking powder. You can't use soda. I found that out the hard way.
Okay. Okay.
So you it's baking powder and a rub of your choice.
Okay.
And you let them dry. You put it on it and then toss them in the fridge and let them sit there uncovered for about 2 or 3 hours.
Okay.
And then put more on it again, and then you cook them on the grill. And the combination of the fat and the baking powder and the rub makes them taste like they actually came out of a fryer.
Interesting.
Dry.
I came in second on a rib contest or a wing contest this summer, and the only reason I lost was they were a little too hot. But one of the guys said, like, did you fry these first before you barbecued them? And like, no, these are just strictly barbecued.
Yeah. So there's the Cookful, which is a site, says how to cook crispy wings that are so crispy, and they recommend that just exactly what you said. If you use that baking powder, right? Use baking powder; they'll come out really crispy. So Mark, what are you showing again?
So these are beef ribs. So what you're seeing in the picture is 9 pounds of ribs, 8 bones, 9 pounds. And that's what they looked like when they first went in. That's what they look like after cooking for 7 hours. So you can actually see how much they shrank.
Yeah. How much are beef ribs? Pretty expensive?
For 9 pounds, I'm going to pay 45 Canadian.
Okay. That's not as bad as I thought.
But I'm buying them from directly from a butcher.
Okay.
Which is the right way to get meat, by the way.
Yeah. And this guy's a commercial butcher. They do deliveries to restaurants, but he actually opened up a counter now. So a customer service counter. So you can go in on the weekend and buy Wagyu beef and high-end ribs. And so that's what they look like when they got cooked up.
Man, you're right. That is like a sirloin on a bone.
Yeah. And then what I did with those was I carved off the meat off the bone and served them like steaks. So we had a couple nights of steaks, and then the pieces that weren't big enough I made into fajitas.
Oh my God. Okay, now I'm hungry.
Yeah, I know. I wasn't
that Mark, you pushed me over the top. I was getting hungry with the wings. Mike, you were showing something. Mike Howard, you were showing something a second ago. Did you want to come back to that?
Yeah.
Was that Brian?
It was. We probably talked about this before, but Mark, you showed us that one beer can thing.
Rubber cooker.
Yeah, that works really good. You don't necessarily have to brine your chicken, but I still do occasionally if you want some, extra juicy chicken. And it's real simple to brine. I just put it in, about 6 hours, Mark, or so, 6 to 8 hours. You don't want to over brine it. A little bit of some salt in the water, whatever seasoning you want, and and put it in the fridge. You want it cold, and it will suck up some of that juice. And be even more
brining is an art. You guys have been talking about it. It's going to be one of those things that it takes me a while to learn. That's the way I am. I need to do about 8 shows, and then I'm like, hey, I should actually try this, and do something.
I'm in the same boat.
There's a really simple recipe. I think it's called Kitten Cal, Kittencal, and she's just brown sugar, salt, and peppercorns and water.
Yeah. Mike, what are you showing, Mike Howard?
The end result of that chicken.
Oh man,
looks terrible.
Man, that looks good. I had 2 peanut butter and jelly sandwiches for dinner tonight. That's looking pretty good.
I had cereal.
We're doing a barbecue show, and we have the worst dinners. Oh,
Yes.
You did? Mike did.
I had to prep for the show.
Not to put you over the top, but can you see that picture?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Man.
So that was 3-pound tomahawks. So I bought one of those it was a dinner for 4. It lasted us 6 meals. So we got dinner for 4 plus 2. So it was 3 pounds a piece. I bought one. I smoked it for 2 hours at 180 degrees. And that's what it looked like after 2 hours. And then I tossed it right on the coals. So no grill, no.
Yeah. You're just searing it, right?
Just searing it, just to finish it off.
You can put it directly on the coals?
Yeah, it's called caveman style.
Caveman, yeah. Stephen Reichland
come off
loves
with any,
that.
No. And then what ends up happening is anything that sticks to it, I have a video and you can actually see it, but videos don't play well. Whatever does stick to it turns into gravy. Like it just becomes like a beautiful coating on it. So that's a finished product before it got cooked. It was just sitting there resting. and that was a finished product, sliced up with a very nice bottle of wine.
What are you putting in, what plate are you putting it on? Looks like you're even professionally plating.
It was a platter that we got just for doing
I got a race car.
It's a platter we picked up for doing meat. So it's a cheap plastic platter. I think it was $3.
Okay, no, it looks good.
It looks like a high-end plate, but it's sort of antique looking plastic platter.
So a tomahawk is a rib, right? And then
it's a rib steak with the bone on it.
Yeah. But is it the sirloin that's on the end, or what's on the end of it? Ribeye. Okay.
So you can get better value. It's definitely a presentation bone or a presentation steak.
Right.
But this was like that bottle of wine we'd had in the basement for 2 years. That was an expensive bottle that.
Oop, I'm losing you, Mark.
Yeah.
See if we get him back here. While we're getting Mark back, Mike, what are you showing? Weaker.
Oh, just more wings to get you.
More wings on the.
Oh, yeah, those look like they're toward the end. They're done. They look good.
Yeah, that's right towards the end there. And see, that's what I've been finding too. Is the one thing that I've been trying to play with is really knowing which sides are which for my hot sides of my grill, right? And knowing when to use which side. And I was really worried for the longest time that my grill wasn't getting to the temperature that it said it was, because I had my probe in there. You know, you got one of those wireless that has just 2 probes. So one you just put in the grill. And I was like, man, I have this grill set to 250, but my probe says like 190, 215 maybe. Well, I realized because I have the probe on the cold side of my grill, and my hot side on my right was up to the temperature, but my left side wasn't at all. So I really realized that it's a lot colder, which kind of gives you more options once you really know your hot and cold side your grill and what to do with them. My chicken wings, I learned that when I do them on my colder side, or if I don't do them at a high enough temp, they don't get that crispy, and they're a very chewy outside. It's not good, right? It's like kind of a weird skin. So I've been doing mine a little bit hotter, and it's been working a lot better.
What temperature is that at, Mike?
This would have been, I think 350, maybe 350.
Hey, Mark. When you dropped, we lost your mic. We can hear you, but you're on your camera mic. Can you jump into the Hangout settings and switch that back over, and we'll get you back in here. While you're doing that, we'll take a little break from the food. And this year, we've been trying to spend more time on the deck, and so I've been trying out the different tiki torch stuff. And I don't want the tiki torches; like those are ugly. So I've been trying different. I tried wine bottles. Right, they have all these kits on Amazon. I'll throw a link in the show notes on where you can buy the kits, and it's really just a metal or a brass that's got an O-ring that fits in the top of a bottle, right? A beer bottle or wine. Those are both the same size. And then you fill the bottles with the tiki torch fluid. Put these wicks in there and light them. And so I tried both the regular tiki torch stuff, and then I just bought. They have like an extra strength bug repellent tiki torch brand now, and guys, for a gallon of this stuff, it's like $6. It's not terribly expensive, right? I think that's what I got at Walmart. Well, we filled those things up, and I think it is worth it to get the extra repellent brand on the tiki torch fluid, because we sat out there and it's just Nebraska. So, and we've had a lot of rain.
Yeah.
So
it's been real buggy.
It's super buggy out there, Mike. And I sat out there all night, a few bites. I put a little bit of mosquito repellent on my legs, just because that's where they come up through the deck, right? And that's where they get you. But one of the cool things I did, I tried a bottle of wine first, and I have a dragon's milk here, which I wouldn't use because it's got the paper. It's got the paper thing, and that gets a little grungy after it's been outside. They recommend you take that off, but I wasn't a big fan of that. We've been drinking a lot of Guinness, and Guinness kind of has an all-in-one kind of integrated, almost painted on look. And man, those Guinness, so the 12-ounce bottles, those Guinness made really, really cool tiki torches for the deck. So I had 6 of them. I bought 6 of those wicks for $9 maybe. And the fuel was $6 at Walmart, and filled those babies up, and we put them on the patio, and it was great. And I asked the kids, I'm like, what do you guys think of this? And I'm like, we love this. This is awesome. Guinness seems to be the right container to have that in. The other container that the mouth was a little bit bigger that I wanted to use, so I have to find the right fitting for it, is So Captain Morgan makes a cannon blast. I don't know. And they make different kinds. They have an apple version, a watermelon version, and a regular version. They've probably bumped much more, but it looks just like a round ball. And those two have a painted on label to them, and those age a little bit. That paint kind of ages as it sits outside, and it makes it kind of changes into some really cool colors as you have it out there. I've got to find the right thing, but we put one out, and those would also make really stable, like tiki torches or torches that you could burn right off your deck.
Where are you placing these on the deck? On the railing and stuff?
On the table, on the railings, yeah, just around us.
You're not worried about them falling off and starting to fire?
No, not while we're there. Okay. When in the evenings when we're done, blow them out, and I put them down on the deck and put them in a corner. I stack them all together so they don't fall down. But no, during the meals and such, we just have them out there, and they make really easy, movable tiki torches, so to speak. Cool. And so, that has been a really fun thing to do. Don't cheap out on the wicks. I think getting good wicks is kind of important. You'll have a better experience that way. But the first set I already burned out. I lit them on Sunday, and I came in the house and forgot they had just a little bit of oil left in them, and I burned the oil all the way off. So I'll need to refill those again. I have a little blue funnel. Is that right? Yeah, funnel that I used to put oil in my mower. That makes a great little thing to put the oil in on the bottles. So great way to reuse the bottles. Again, this is Dragon's Milk, but you could use. I prefer the the Guinness bottles. Those make really creative. You could do a bunch of them out on the deck, and man, Mike, it kept the bugs out. So that's
what I would be interested in, because we've always tried the off-brand or whatever candles that you can put out there, and they just don't work very well. So I'd love to put some of those around.
No, it worked out really, really well. I'm also not, and Mike Howard, maybe you do this too when you're out there. I'm not. I have been known to spray the yard maybe once or twice in the summer, just with the mosquito stuff to kind of knock it down a little bit. I know that's not the greatest thing for the environment, but works pretty well that way.
Yeah, here in Atlanta, we get tons of bugs too, so I need to give that a try.
Yeah, get the extra strength tiki. It's made to the tiki brand, and it's specifically bug repellent. Yeah, give that a try in your area. It has just made sitting on the deck a little bit more enjoyable. Yeah, and so for us, we'll grill. I'll grill out there. We'll come in and have dinner inside, but then the kids want to go out and smoke cigars, on the deck afterwards.
Well, now here in Atlanta, we're heading into the fall, and the temperatures are starting to get a little better. I think today we're in the mid 80s, although it was raining most of the day. But the weather's getting better, and during that time, we may even eat dinner out on the deck.
Mm-hmm. I'm not a big fan. I don't know why, but I'm just not a big fan of eating out there. I don't know, Mike. Do you guys you have a really nice kind of patio area? Are you guys eating out there at all?
Yeah, all the time.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah. It's a little bit harder with the boys, because they need to be in a high chair and a chair. So we don't do it as much as we used to. But yeah, we use it all the time.
Yeah. Mark, do you guys stay inside most of the time, or you eating out much outside?
We tend to eat outside when we have guests over, more often than if it's just two of us. It was a hot summer this summer. Like it was. The cold we had in the winter was replaced by stupid heat for about 3 or 4 weeks. We're getting down to, I think I went to the UK last week, and we were down to just above 0. So it's getting into cooler weather now. So, but now we're getting rain. So it's just one or the other.
And tornadoes, right?
That was,
glad you're safe.
Was 5 kilometers from the house.
Yeah. Glad you're safe.
Watch that video today.
That was crazy. That's just crazy. Mark, do you any extra when you think about being outside from eating or enjoying the evening or a drink outside? I'm thinking of installing some kind of Wi-Fi enabled lights underneath the deck. Maybe strip lights like Hue. I think Hue makes some of those, or there's a Philips brand. Do you guys go ahead?
You can get those Wi-Fi outdoor outlets up here. So Wink enabled outlets, so you can plug whatever light you want into it.
Oh, Okay. Now I'm wired. My deck is completely wired. So I've got 2 outlets ready for lighting.
You can plug this into it.
Yeah.
Right. This is a plug-in, like one of those outdoor lighting posts.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I was thinking I would get a unit outdoor rated that I could just plug in, and then I would, it would be Wi-Fi controlled through the unit as well. Mike, Mike Howard, do you have anything out on any lighting?
I don't. I've always wanted to do some outdoor lighting on the deck because I built my deck myself and I like it. So I've always wanted to do that, but I've never done it.
Yeah. Uyghur?
I'd be interested to see what you do.
Yeah. Uyghur, how about you? Have you done any lighting out there?
Ours are all installed in the overhang. Okay. So there's a bunch of lighting. I mean, we can light that thing up like it's there's a spotlight on it. Our neighbors like it.
It's bright out there. I finally replaced. We've got some lights over the garage that are motion sensing, and I think they've been out for like 15 years. So I was like, I should probably put some lights in there so we can illuminate the garage. What do they call those? I'm struggling the actual strip lights, but that's not what they call them. Rope.
Rope light?
Yeah. Rope lighting? Is that what that is? Yeah, rope.
Hugh has those, but I don't know if they're outdoor rated.
Okay. Yeah, because I thought it would be really, really cool to get fairly bright, to get some fairly bright lighting. Mike, what are you showing, Mike Uyghur?
Oh, so we have like these canned lights on all the corners, and then these 2 lights on the end. Which actually, these ones on the green post over here, those are Hue lights. So these are my ones in the back. Everything else I keep off unless we're out there, but the Hue lights out here, these turn on at night just to have some light out there for security purposes and stuff like that. And then up top, since this is covered, there's a fan with one more light kind of up top. Works out pretty well.
Dude, if I lived closer, I'd be at your house every night.
I love that outdoor.
Yeah, I'd be like, hey, you go in. You're okay. We'll hang out out here.
Yeah, I'll see you later, Mike. I know
you
gotta
go. Hey, I got to put the kids to bed. I'm like, oh, that's okay. We're good. We'll see ourselves.
I'll let myself out.
Yeah. No, yeah, it's great. We bought the house for that backyard, and we can be out there when it's pouring rain because it's all covered, and it's a lot of fun.
It's probably awesome to be out there when it's pouring rain.
Oh, it's yeah, I love it because the sound and it's nice and cool, and it's a lot of fun.
Other Jim wants to know if there's any Wi-Fi enabled tiki torches. How cool would that be? You could light it on your app, right? You would hit the app, it'd have a electronic ignition, and you'd write it on the app. Mark, what are you showing?
Outdoor rated, controllable rope light.
Okay. And what's the price on? Well, those are Canadian dollars, so it'll be $1 million.
That's Amazon.com.
Okay.
That's US.
Oh,
$24.
$24, $25 for some, yeah.
For 15 feet.
I think 15. Okay, yeah, that'd be about right. I've got 2 spots. One is it's 8 feet, but I could go down and back. And then one spot is 2 runs of 8, so that'd be perfect. You have to send me that link, Mark, would you?
Yep.
On that, it'd be good to know. Lighting is one of those things, and I'm finding that when we think about being outside, some of the things that make that pleasant, and I haven't been a big outdoors guy as far as like having the right equipment to do that or thinking about it, but if you definitely want to spend time outdoors, I think thinking through the comfort there, whether it's Mike Uyghur, you've got that overhead that makes that really comfortable at any time. I've had to kind of think through leaf management. We've got 2 big trees that are just they're just dirty, like they're just shedding things whether it's sticks or leaves or whatever. And so I've been kind of thinking through, how do I keep the deck clean for those kinds of things. Robot. Lighting is a big piece. Mike, what'd you say, Mike?
Robot.
Well, yeah, a robot deck cleaner. That would be, maybe that's after the robot lawnmower.
Blocking sun is so I go in 3 orders. There's 3 things I've decided that when we move, because this house we're gonna need to expand just space wise, because the actual house is not very big at all. So we have more kids, but blocking the sun, so being able to sit out there and not get a sunburn. And then number 2 is, I think it's a furniture too, right? Having a comfortable place to sit is always, if you want to spend time out there. And then number 3 is kind of just entertainment, whatever you like. So if you like music, putting good speakers out there, or if you're going to watch a game, we have that TV where that is where we watch Sunday and Saturday football all day long. We are out on that back patio
That's
just
awesome.
because we can for the TV. So, but if people who listen to music, put speakers out there just so it's a place you actually want to go and sit out, not just because it's outside, but because it's an actual fun place for you to be.
And do you have any fans moving any air, Mike, out there?
Yeah, so we have one fan up the very top, but it doesn't move much air, to be honest. So we just have a big kind of industrial fan that we'll set on that fireplace that I showed you guys and just face it towards us if we need to crank some air through.
Yeah,
I like what
Go ahead.
I saw from Amazon this week where they released the Link amps. So if you want to run outdoor speakers now with Alexa, they have an actual Alexa powered amp.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they do. Yeah, no, they do. Yeah, a big
No,
sub.
because I have a receiver just for that purpose because I have two Bose wired speakers out there that I needed something to plug them into. That might be a good option.
Amazon Link and Amazon Link amp.
Okay.
I've been thinking of beginning a kind of an industrial. Sorry, Kevin Schoonover just posted something funny in chat. I'll talk about it here in just a second. But I've been thinking about getting one of those industrial kind of fans that, because in the heat, and Mike, you get this too, in the heat of the summer, just moving a little bit of air keeps the mosquitoes away.
Absolutely, yeah.
And so I've been thinking about getting one of those bigger industrial fans to just kind of keep some air moving off the deck.
We have one of those pedestal ones.
Do you?
You can stand up, and it can move some air.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that helps.
Does
a
it
lot.
work?
It works pretty good. I mean, you got to turn it up a little bit.
The fans I'm looking at, and I guess it depends on the velocity. Some of those are really loud, so you want to be careful. But the low end in the $60 range, high end
the Harbor Freight style,
$50 range. Yeah. Just moving some of that air. Kevin had put in the chat, he said, I can take care of that tree. And he sent us a link to a Husqvarna chainsaw. Oh, I'll be honest. I need to, trees are a double-edged sword because here the sun, in the middle of summer, having those trees around the house really saves me on energy. And it just consumes a lot of that. And I do a lot to keep it off the house. But I even had one grow on the side of the house that I let stay because the evening sun just bakes the side of my house. And so wanted a tree to kind of consume some of that heat, and it's worked out really well. But we have linden trees, and those have they have a gazillion little tiny seeds that get into absolutely everything. And when they get in water and sit for a while,
oh boy,
they smell like dead flesh. Like the worst, like someone died in your house twice. They died, then they died again. And so it is Kevin's being funny in the chat room. So I have to be really, really careful with my furniture because it is constantly, if anything gets in the cracks and crevices and I don't get that out right away, it stains it and it smells awful. So I'm constantly pulling the pads up and putting them in a position where they can dry out or they don't collect leaves and some of those kinds of things. That's been I built, and I should show a picture of it. I don't think I have it, but I actually built my own wooden bench on the deck. So when we were putting that together, I needed a rail. And I thought, well, if I'm going to have a rail, I might as well just have a bench that's the same size. I need a spot to sit. And man, that thing turned out really, really well. I was surprised. Usually I don't build things that turn out really, really well. Yeah. You're like, oh God, that thing sucks. Everybody wants to sit on that bench on the deck. And it's just a great, tool to have is that seating, right? Mm-hmm. Mike, I think Mike Uyghur, you just said that. Mike Howard?
Well, when I built my deck, I built a 19 by 19 and then a 16 by 12 deck. So one is a step down. The outside railing on both of them, so 19 feet on one, 16 feet on the other, is a bench seat. So the railing itself is a bench seat on those. So that's, even though I have patio furniture on the deck, most everybody goes and sits on those bench seats.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And this year I was looking for a pad and Target was clearancing, again, this time of year, they're getting rid of all their outdoor gear, and it's normally a $45 pad, and I got it for $12.
Nice.
Yeah. And so it was a different color, which is great. It was exactly what I was looking for. It fits that seat really well, and then I end up putting it up every, when I go out in the mornings, I'll put it up so that if it rains or stuff falls on it, the pad does not become a collector of crap. right?
Yeah.
So no, building that bench was one of the smartest things I ever did on my deck, because even if you don't have any chairs out, like if you put the chairs away,
You still got chairs.
you still got the bench sitting out there. It works really, really well.
We have some of those benches that are they turn into a picnic table. Put two of them back to back, and the back flips up into a picnic table.
Yeah, no, that'd be a great idea. Mount. For me, I needed to use it as a rail so that it would double as a rail. Yeah. You could mount one of those in there and pull that out, or spin it around to make it look like a table. Those are pretty cool. Mark, anything else from pictures to show us? I know you probably have a gazillion, so we could go for a while. But what else you got?
Hungry.
I'm already hungry, my friend.
Probably one of the favorite things I got this year, and it's been you were mentioning that 680 or 700 grill earlier on, and I posted this on Facebook earlier, but it's sort of cropped. It is a replacement fire pot and a Wi-Fi controller that Mike Howard's trying to buy right now, and then been out of stock for 5 months.
Yep, still out of stock.
The fire pot on the left-hand side gets so hot within 10 seconds that you can't have your fingers near it. So, yeah, it goes up to 1800 Fahrenheit.
Whoa.
So it lights really fast, and it's guaranteed for life. They figure it'll last 1,000,000 cycles. So I'll never put 1,000,000 cycles through it. Wow. And the other one is a Wi-Fi controller that I got that I can turn on and off my grill and control temperature overnight. And it's the most techie I've gotten for a single grill, but it's allowed me to use that grill. So I'll set it on extreme smoke overnight, let it smoke something for 6 hours at 180 degrees and just pumping out a ton of smoke. Then wake up, look at my phone, turn it to 250 and let it smoke for another 12 hours.
Yeah, I can't wait to get that.
I know. I wish I would have gone with the Wi-Fi version of the Green Mountain.
You can upgrade yours though, can't you?
I probably could. I just haven't
change the controller out.
Yeah, I wonder how much that is.
Well, this controller right now they're blowing them out at $100 a piece, and then when the original batch is done, they'll be $200. But what I like about RecTech is with those two parts, I basically have their newest grill on my patio.
Right.
So the only thing I'm missing is a different colored lid, which I don't really care about.
Yeah, I checked it tonight before the show, and they were still out.
Well, I think, Mark, unless you've got something super compelling, we have a few odds and ends to pick up here at the end of the show. Mark, anything else?
The only thing I would say is if people are interested in barbecue, is to look for your local barbecue shops and see if they're offering courses. Like I've taken courses at 2 different stores, and the second store I'm taking at actually has a full setup with 6 or 8 grills on at a time. And the course is there to promote the hobby.
Yeah.
No,
right on.
And they're not expensive. Typically, they're not expensive.
Uyghur, we've been talking about trying to get together, getting the wives together. We ought to do a class together.
That's what I was thinking. Go to the hub, right? The Helping You barbecue place. I'm sure they have a way to do it.
That would be a good way to do it and get that done. It is a good way to do it. And I think for most listeners, you've got something going on in your city. Just figure out what that is if you want to get into it. Start with something small, by the way. If grilling is new to you and you're intimidated by it or whatever, and you're like, man, I'd like to do more, start with one thing. Like get good at one thing. Burgers are an easy thing to start with and get good at. Right?
And chicken's pretty good. Chicken's pretty good too.
Yeah, I'm a big burger fan. I think those are pretty easy, and there's a lot of variations of things you can do with those, to make it good. And you can just get to know your grill a little bit. If you don't have a grill, pick up a cheap one, right?
Try to help.
Yeah, no, right on.
The Facebook group is there to help.
Yeah, I'd love to have some more grill conversations in that Facebook group for sure. So, Mike, you had mentioned, we'll shift gears here towards the end. We got a few little short stories to pull up. iOS 12 is out. We talked about that 2 weeks ago. I didn't know this was coming until you said something, but last grass. Oh, that's in Colorado.
Canada next month.
Talk about it before I make a total fool of myself.
Yeah. So and with iOS 12 on iPhones and iPads, in the past you've been able to use the iCloud keychain to store your passwords on your iOS devices. But for most of us, I didn't use that at all because I used LastPass for everything. But on my phones, I just got kind of used to plugging in my passwords and things like that. So what they did with iOS 12 though is that they allow you to use any other third-party password manager as the autofill for not only in Safari, but in actual apps. So you fire up the Facebook app, you need to log in, and you can now use your LastPass credentials to do that. And it's the same process. It doesn't even launch LastPass in the background. It is the same exact system. And if you have with the iPhone 10 or newer, it uses Face ID. So it's almost like you don't even realize that you're using LastPass, but you are, which is great. The one thing I would suggest is to probably just turn off. So when you open up so this is under settings. And then if you go to passwords and accounts, and then autofill passwords, you'll see allow filling from, and you can choose LastPass or 1Password, whichever one you use. And then I just unchecked iCloud keychain just to make sure that all those passwords are only flowing through LastPass. But
I did the same, and I tried it as soon as I got home because you mentioned it in the Facebook group, or at least in our chat, and I'm like, oh, seriously? Because this has always been a big hang up for me.
True, yeah, it's
passwords.
been one of the biggest hangups.
Yeah, no, it works pretty well. So that's exciting. Do you know why? I mean, the Apple always protected that space because they didn't want other apps compromising. Apps compromising other apps, so to speak. Do you have any idea why they can do this now and where they didn't used to be able to do it in the past?
I'm not sure. I don't know if they were trying to get everyone kind of into the iCloud, keychain access and using that, and then they just decided to kind of open it up. I think everyone complained about it for so long. I have LastPass and I use it on my computer and it works great, or I have 1Password, whatever it was, and I think they finally allow them to do it. I don't know if it was a technical reason of why they moved it over. I don't know if it's some new way they're doing that. Christian Johnson might know.
Yeah,
but
I think we got pressured by Android users.
It would make sense. I mean, it makes sense that we can now use these password managers across all of our devices. And I love that they just built it in too, right? It's not, you don't need to do anything different. So it works out really well. You can also go for it.
It was the same thing with the keyboards, right? They didn't let you use anybody else's keyboard, but now you can use SwiftKey.
Yeah, they did that a while ago. I think maybe that was iOS 11 or 10.
Yeah, but that was another one of the ones that, like Android, it was a huge thing on Android. You could change keyboards out, and Apple's like, no, we're good with ours. And eventually they allowed another keyboards in. They're doing the same thing now with password managers.
Yep, exactly. I think it's more of a trend that we're seeing them go towards. And then I'll just mention one more little quick tip that's kind of nice. If you are a Mac computer user as well, if you have any of their computers, there's often times where I am editing a document or I'm doing something and I want to insert a photo from my phone, or I want to use my phone as the camera. They now have a feature. It's kind of part of their handoff and continuity between the two devices where, let's say I'm editing a Word document, I can go to insert photo and it'll just pop up on my phone. I'll take the photo and it'll just put it right into the document. There's no airdropping or emailing. It knows, hey, you've got a high quality camera here. Does the same thing with scanning. So you can open a PDF app and say, okay, I'm going to scan. It'll say, okay, do you want to do it from your phone? You say, yeah. So you just take it all and then it'll let you crop it. It makes total sense because how many times are we just sitting here emailing us a photo or messaging it to ourselves or airdropping whatever we're doing. So two of those just quick features that I have found now that Mojave and iOS 12 are both out for the public. Mojave just was released this Monday. It's kind of nice. We're starting to see some of these features that are things that I didn't even know I wanted, to be honest. And then I'm like, oh, it's kind of cool.
There's a new feature in iOS 12 where it's screen time.
Oh, yeah, that's dangerous. I didn't like to look at that.
It's pretty embarrassing. So I was like, I just upgraded this morning. So I have today's screen time stats. And you're like, oh, yikes. I've been on my phone for 4 hours today already at this point. So, you're kind of like, yikes. So some interesting things. I did notice some weird keyboard hiccups
Really?
Yeah, and I don't know why it wasn't typing as fast, and some things were weird. So I need to do a little digging in, and just because I spend a lot of time typing.
Yeah, because my upgrade has been, I have found my battery life is way better with iOS 12
Really?
than it was
Okay.
before.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's just something
I was
unique
having
to what I'm
troubles
using.
before, so you know.
And I wasn't having trouble before. I have a newer phone, but I've just noticed it's been even better, noticeably better on my phone.
Before the show, Mark was having some UPS problems, and that reminded me that I moved podcast studios at Gallup this week. So I'd been in a big conference room up on a floor that when I moved in 4 years ago or 5 years ago, it's kind of weird to think how long I'd been in that room. It was a conference room. It was a big conference room too, and so I had this big, gigantic studio, which was pretty cool. I'm not going to lie, it was pretty cool. But in the 4 years I've been up there, a whole floor of people have moved in around me. I kind of feel like that guy in China where the city builds around him and he won't move. And so the facilities guy came to me this week. It was like, hey, could we find you a new studio? And I'm like, oh, I think it's time. So I moved. But a UPS that I'd had in there forever that worked perfectly. As soon as I powered it down, and perfectly is probably not the right word. As soon as I powered it down and moved it, it would not come back up again. I mean, it was deader than a doornail. And I think I probably had that UPS for 4 years. Looks great, never moved. It has sat literally in the same spot for 4 years. Yeah, so it looks great, but the batteries are done. So, I mean, I never hooked up any kind of they come with a USB cable and you can hook them in and monitor them. It does checks, self-checks, and all those things. Pretty good UPS. So it's pretty great at work. I took it to the help desk and put it on the desk. They gave me a brand new one in replacement of that, said, here you go, and took it down to the office. It was a reminder, though, that if you have UPSs, you probably should be checking them at least once a year to make sure they're doing the job of doing whatever you need them to do. In most cases, I use a UPS for mostly brownouts. If we're going to have a big power outage over the summer, it's not going to power my stuff very long. Maybe I can shut some stuff down. I usually mostly, because we get a squirrel that'll chew on the line and then the line drops for a second, it comes back up. And that just kind of keeps me, keeps the machines protected and on. If that happened during the podcast, from losing everything that's going on, and the lights would flicker for a second. But so might be a good idea to check your UPS if you got one out there. A good kind of thing. Mike, what you got one built into you got one built into your rack there?
Yep.
UPS.
Yeah. So, but it's a year old, and I think when I look at the time, it could run for 17 minutes if it needed to, which is enough time. But I'm like you, I'm kind of more doing it for the brownouts, the small little things that go on and off. And if I do have it plugged in via USB to the Unraid box, so at least that would shut down safely. Which actually I plugged it in. I haven't set it up yet. I think I need to go into Unraid and actually do the setting. I think it's pretty straightforward in Unraid, but that's a good reminder, Jim.
There you go. I'm a big fan of UPSs that have a monitor or have a screen on the front of them, so you can do some self checks right there. Mike Howard, what are you using on your stuff?
Mainly CyberPower. I think I may have a few APCs, but yeah, every computer. Even have one for the TV, our TV upstairs for brownouts. But the TV, the what is it, TiVo, and all that stuff connected to TV are plugged into that thing. So there's been times when the power is flickering on and off, and we just keep watching TV.
It's kind of nice, isn't it?
It is. And you're doing a show, you're doing a podcast, and I've had the power flicker on and off, and you got to make sure your network equipment and your router and all that's connected to something,
right?
And you just keep going.
Schoonover has been posting the little network. They have a little network UPSs kind of designed for that, right? Little small battery ones. And I've bought at least one of those that's plugged in. It's mounted on the wall, and all the networking equipment goes through 2 power strips, and those 2 power strips are then plugged into the UPS to keep it backed up. So that has its own. And then I have clusters of PCs that are on various. I have 2 of the big 1000s. I think those are 650 watts or something along those lines. Mm-hmm. And so I have 2 of those plus a variety of smaller ones that just kind of keep everything running. It's, you could go with just the big ones and route everything through that. That might be better because you got to check it. Like I said, every couple of years, you got to check the batteries.
Yep.
Yeah. Mark, what about you?
I actually just went through it I got two 1300 VA units on 2 servers, on my Unraid server and my 2012 server. Both of them are hooked in. Both of them have USB connectivity. Neither one of them are shutting down properly right now. So I got to figure out why they're not shutting down. They're plenty of load. They do battery tests. They're fine. And then every desktop in the house has one. And I have a UPS behind my TV because when my amp loses power, it loses the link between where the signal should be coming in for audio. So you have to go back and go through the setup on the amp to fix that. So I put a UPS on that.
There you go.
And that kept power through we were up for 22 hours when we lost power with a tornado. And because there's no draw on the UPS, it kept the settings. So
did it beep at you the whole time?
No, the upstairs one didn't beep at all.
Okay.
The downstairs one beeped till they ran out of power.
Mm-hmm.
And I have friends who I've made sure they have UPSs, and he didn't realize you could turn off the UPS, so his wife was cursing at him because all night long the UPS was beeping at him.
It's pretty obnoxious.
It is.
Those are pretty obnoxious indeed.
The one that
go ahead.
The one that failed, that I had to change it before the show. I have a battery in order for it. I just don't have that computer on right now. But my TV that I'm using for a monitor was plugged into it, so it didn't like even having the surge on.
Our local Batteries Plus here has been pretty competitive with those batteries. I've ordered them off Amazon sometimes to replace them and such, but the guys at Batteries Plus, or at least the local one here in Papillion, has been wanting to be more competitive, and they've actually have taken them in and they've offered to kind of match or be close, and I don't have to order it and wait for it to come in and some of those kinds of things with shipping. So you might want to check too on those batteries. Nixops in the chat room says he tests his batteries and all the panels every quarter. Great idea. Had some issues that screwed some things up. And then other Jim says he tries to size his UPS is at 50% of the load once you convert VA to watts, but testing is needed. So good idea to run at 50, 70, somewhere in there. So
let me ask you this, Jim. So when they die and you need to get rid of them, where do you take them?
Hazardous waste.
Yeah, because around here I kept looking for where, and like some of the places will take car batteries and boat batteries and those kind of things. I took them to there, and they won't take them.
Call up your local hazardous waste place. Like up here, it's a government-run thing where they say 1 weekend a month they'll take hazardous waste back and they'll take those back. Now, Uyghur, when you hook up the UPS to your Unraid, you're gonna be shocked at how much it's drawing. Like mine right now is drawing 7 watts. My Unraid server is drawing 7 watts of power.
Oh, I know more. Mine's doing more than that because I got the big Norco 4020 case with those 80mm fans in there.
But nothing spun up. So I'm running a quad core AMD processor, I think an A6 or A8, and it's sitting there and it's running. I'm drawing right now I'm drawing 2% CPU load and 14% memory, but I'm drawing 1% and 7 watts of power.
Wow.
1%.
Okay, that's way. Mine idles at like 60 or 70.
I bet mine's at least that, Mike. I bet mine's even worse.
Yeah,
and this is 8 drives. This is 8 drives in it.
So how?
Yeah, what are you doing?
Yeah, how do you get down that low on an idle?
Well, no drives are running right now. They're all inactive.
I know, but 7 is like super. Your CPU should be using even just idle CPU usually is right like 60 or 70, right?
No, the PSU in that the fan won't go on unless it draws more than 140 watts. You rarely hear the fan go on. It's an efficient efficient PSU. The CPU itself is not anything crazy. It's a quad core A6 or A8, but it's measuring 7 watts.
Wow,
that's incredible.
That is incredible. I wish mine was like that because mine needs power quite a bit.
At full load with all the drives spun up, I think it draws 55 or 60 watts.
Oh wow! See, like when mine's transcoding Plex or doing that sort of stuff, it's up at 120, 130. So I've got a i7 in there, a 4300 or something like that. An older one, an older i7.
Kevin says in the chat room, back to the battery recycling, you have to check into this. Best Buy might be one of those. They have a recycling program at Best Buy. They actually have the best recycling program that I know for electronics. I don't know if they'll take UPS batteries because that's a little bit different than they'll definitely take like your standard batteries that you put in, you know, A, AA, AAA, those smaller ones, batteries that come on phones and stuff like that. I don't know if they'll come. Yeah, that kind of stuff, Mike. Yeah, I don't know if they officially take the bigger UPS batteries.
I'll try them. That's good. That's a good.
Yeah,
they're called sealed lead acid.
Sealed lead acid.
I was just going to throw them in a creek out back.
Well, make them as a retainer.
First, you got to get a creek out back.
Yeah,
I just put them in my fireplace. It kind of makes a cool sound.
There you go. Outdoor fireplace, though.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
It's colorful flames like those logs that you buy, you know, or they have the.
You get real close, you kind of get lightheaded.
They pop hydrogen.
Yikes. Yikes. Do not try this at home. Well, with that, we will probably went long on the show, so we will probably not do much on the crypto side tonight. But we want to thank you guys for, if you've listened this far, both live, and actually most people are still out there live. Or if you're listening to the recorded version you made this far, thanks for doing that. This is always one of my favorite shows. We do this twice a year, once in the spring, once in the fall. It's just always my most favorite show. No matter what we do or how we do it, we structure it differently every time. Never the same. If you want to go back, and by the way, the information is super evergreen. So if you ever want to, like, if you want to go back to the spring show, I think I looked that up today, and that was back in March, I think March or April. If you want to go back to the past shows, it's not like this barbecue and grill stuff changes all that often. So you can get some great advice. We went through some great recipes. Mark has actually encouraged me to, every show I've come out of here buying something. Mm-hmm. It seems like we talked about the frog mats. I did the smoker piece. We did the ceramic chicken thing. What do we call that thing, Mark? Chicken roaster. Yeah. I got that. I got that on my grill. So I'm always doing. Uyghur, have you bought any? Have you come out of the show buying anything?
No, but I'm usually cooking the next day for sure.
I know. It's Friday. So grilling, get out on your grill. At least if you're listening over the weekend, get out on your grill and get something done. Don't forget, we want to thank everyone who supports the show through Patreon. We really, really appreciate it. That's going to help as we start building this robot lawnmower. So don't, if you want to get involved or you want to help the show, head out to theaverageguy.tv/Patreon. We'll get that done, and just a great way to support it. You can do as a buck. You can, if you want to send me an email, you got suggestions, you got ideas, you want to help Mike recycle his batteries, you can send me an email, jim@theaverageguy.tv. If you got some ideas. Actually, this week, I got a bunch of email, more than I've ever gotten in a single week. Once I started this robot lawnmower thing, Mike Uyghur, like all of a sudden, I'm starting to get some emails. Schoonover sent me a super handy one that's got the wheels I think I need. We're going to need to do some, we're going to need to do some front wheel things. Okay. And then somebody sent me email this week that said, if you're going to buy a $160 3D printer, it's not going to work. So good. Okay. Well, I like those kinds of, this is great. Love this kind of stuff. Keep bringing it. Send me an email, jim@theaverageguy.tv. Try and get back to you as I can, or sometimes you're just sending me notes, and that's okay as well. But keep sending those. If you want to join, we mentioned the Facebook group. If you want to join that Facebook group, theaverageguy.tv/Facebook is probably the right way to go to get that done. I'll take you right to the group. Ask to be in. You'll get in. Deals, great conversations, any kind of questions you want. Nicest guys on the planet, and some gals too. Come out there, and guys, you guys may not know this, but there's a couple lurkers, gal lurkers, who are watching what we do out there. So thanks for being appropriate out there as we do that as well. Don't forget the AverageGuy.tv platform, both web and media hosting, powered by Maple Grove Partners. If you're thinking about doing anything on the web, plans start at $10 a month. You can't do it really any cheaper unless you're doing GoDaddy, and that's not great. So head over to maplegrovepartners.com, check them out, and Christian appreciates that. And like I said, great service, and everything you see here, both web and media hosting, powered by them as well. And Christian and Gary do a great job getting that done. Don't forget, download the app. Just have it on your phone, have it available, have it ready. That way, if you're on the road and you want to listen to us live, it is the easiest way to listen to us live. So get that done as well. Newsletters in full swing every week. I send you something, not a lot, but I send you something. We have a new events page. So theaverageguy.tv/events. So if you want to know what's coming up, you would have known that this was the grill show tonight. And so sign up for that newsletter, theaverageguy.tv/newsletter. We'll get that done. And I still got a bunch every week. I collect more. I got plenty of HelloFresh coupons right here. They're just free, waiting for you to contact me. I get nothing out of this. But if you haven't tried HelloFresh, we did the salmon, Mike, this last week. We did salmon, and oh my God, it was
I think
so
you've got
good.
me convinced. I think I'm going to give it a shot.
Dude, it was so good. Just let me know so you get a coupon on this
Yeah.
thing. Yeah, a couple of you have done that. I like to hear how it goes. It's tough with kids. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
Like, because it's fancy food. Like, it is fancy food. And kids aren't necessarily fancy, right? And so, although
mac and cheese,
we had this fancy mac and cheese that was pretty damn good. So, don't tell the kids it's fancy. Just like, hey, this is really crappy. Oh, it took me 10 seconds to make it.
See, Emmett just wants to eat whatever we're eating. And and he has he doesn't like ask for fancy food, but he doesn't mind eating it. He'll eat whatever we're eating. So, he might go for it.
Give it a try. I've got coupons basically that makes it free for the first week, and then cancel it if you want afterwards. But give it a try. It is a great way. Like I said, we did the salmon. I would have cooked it on the grill on a cedar plank, but I didn't have the cedar planks ready. You need to kind of be soaking those, and I didn't have them ready, and so we ended up hand cooking them, and they were just as delicious pan cooked. In fact, Sarah took pictures, I think, and put it on the Facebook group. And there were some comments. Mike, didn't you jump in on that?
I said, "What's this green stuff next to it?"
It had some green beans and sesame seeds that were super good. I was like, God, this food in a really good jasmine rice. And I'm like, man, food has taste.
You can do salmon on the grill without the plank.
Well, I know, but
indirect. On a Weber.
Yeah. But I didn't have a Weber, and I was a little behind on time. But I've been wanting to. We're gonna Mike Uyghur, where are you buying your meat these days? Where do you guys go to buy meat here in town?
Usually Hy-Vee. I've done Just Good Meats a few times.
Have you tried Fairway for their meat?
You've mentioned it. I haven't been there yet.
You got to get over there and give that a try. But we're gonna go get some salmon here. Sarah wants to try after, inspired by this HelloFresh meal. To get
Jim, I tagged you in a Facebook post about a place in Oklahoma a while ago.
Omaha, you mean?
Yeah, sorry, Omaha.
Yeah. For meat? Yeah. No, I got that. Yeah. Well, and this Fairway place here in town is they have a really good meat market. And they may be building a new facility literally a mile from me. And I was like, oh my God. I'll be there every night. Just staring at the meat counter. Can I get you anything, sir? Nope.
Just browsing.
This new place opened up. That's the consumer portal to the meat distributor. They have 3 42-inch TVs as soon as you walk in, and they show you all the stuff that they have for sale that day. And then you order it through iPad, and they bring it out from the back freezer to your car.
Oh,
wow.
So you walk in, you say, they got Wagyu brisket. I'll take some of that, and I'll take some burger beef, and I'll take some beef ribs, and I'll take some. But you buy, like last time I bought ribs, it was 5 pounds of ribs in a box.
See, that's just I get carried away. I go in there and all of a sudden I have more meat than I have more meat than I can possibly ever cook in my lifetime.
It's never cheap. You always walk out spending. It's like Costco. It's a $200 store.
Fairway has really good prices, and so it and then if you shop the sales, you can get some really great meat. I'm gonna have to try those. What did you call that? Where you have the rib on the
bone?
On the bone. What do they call that?
Tomahawk steaks.
Tomahawk steaks. I'm gonna have to try that.
But they're $15 a pound Canadian.
Yeah. Well, I mean, but it's okay. I'm gonna only get 2, so we'll Sarah and I will try those. The kids are gone, so we'll do that on a Saturday night.
Well, yeah, one steak will do 3 or 4 meals, right? It was 3.5 pounds of meat, or 3.5 pounds of steak.
Yeah. No. Right on. Okay, we better finish. We are live every Thursday, 8 p.m. Central, 9 Eastern. The grill show always goes long. That's just what we do. But if you're joining us for the first time tonight, we normally go about an hour and 20 minutes, which isn't all that much shorter. But we have a good time out here. Love if you've joined us for the first time or you're listening for the first time. Thanks for doing that. We love to have you a part of our community and just jump in here. It's the most fun that we have during the week, and a great group of men and women who put this together. And I appreciate you guys being out there and being appropriate, because it means a lot when you have a great community that hangs out together. We'll hang out for a little bit of post show if you're listening live. With that, we'll say goodbye, everybody.
Good night. All right, Jim, I'm going to show you the bench that I built onto my deck.
Nice. Hold on.
That looks nice.
Yeah, so that I have a friend who helped me with the angles. I'm horrible with the angles, so when I have to cut it, we went into one of the seats in the kitchen, and measured the angle of the seat and the angle of the back and tried to, copy that. So the whole length, that's 19 feet, whole length there is that way. And then the lower deck, you're walking up to that the original, I'm pointing at it, you can't see me where I'm pointing. But the lower deck there is, I think that's 16 feet, and it has a bench seat too.
Nice. Yeah.
And that's, even though we have furniture on there, most people go and end up sitting on those benches.
Isn't
And
that funny?
yeah.
Yeah.
I've seen brackets that do that bench portion for you to figure out the angles. So you bolt them onto the side of your railings.
I just looked it up, and then I set I have a little kind of protractor thing that I set to get the angle. Yeah. I think I use my speed square.
He used something like that. The two of us are good working together because I'm the kind of, let's just get it done. Let's go. He's the kind that would measure all day and never get anything done. So combined, we make progress, and it's right.
That is awesome.
Happy medium.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that is awesome. Yeah, I wish I had a local buddy that would just come over and drink beer with me, and we could do this stuff together. I wish I had a local. I know. I don't know.
Somebody close.
If only I had a friend that was,
Yeah.
But like technology and like beer, and
I know.
And Mike, you have is your kids boys or your younger ones boys?
Dropped off for
Oh, well, you know, Jim, is his younger ones boys?
Yeah, both of them.
Yeah.
Because mine, when I built these, my boys were younger, and they loved being out there with me. Not really helping, but helping.
Right.
I got, if you really looked at the deck close, I got several holes that were drilled through the deck boards because they were helping.
That's what Uyghur has that to look forward to, whereas his boys are helping.
Oh, yeah. Totally.
But
how's that mower, Uyghur?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I love that thing.
Yeah.
I love going out mowing on that.
You
get done half the time.
Yeah.
Fantastic. But yeah, when I was a kid, my dad was in the garage and he was mowing, and he hears me. And he's like, but he can't see me. I'm on the other side of his car. Like, Mike, what are you doing? I'm like, oh, I'm fixing. Like, what are you fixing? The car. And I was taking a screwdriver and just going up and down the side of his car. So
you're lucky to still be here.
One of my kids was doing that with chalk on the back of my father-in-law's car, and it didn't leave big scratches, but it definitely scratched it, right? Mm-hmm. And Phil was back there writing, and I felt so bad.
I used to write my name. The worst thing I probably did was write my name in the grass with the lawnmower when I was cutting the grass.
My neighbor's
That's
kids.
funny.
Yeah, that was fun.
I thought you were going to say write your name on the grass was something else, but
no, with the lawnmower. Okay. Cutting in the grass.
That's right. Name in the snow.
Yeah. That was in Louisiana. We never got any snow, so there was no chance of that.
Okay. I'll be here soon. My neighbors, they have an electric lawnmower. So the father goes out and starts cutting the lawn, and you see the kids are sort of looking at him, or they'll be inside and they'll hear me fire up the gas lawnmower. And all of a sudden, all the eyes go like, "Oh, look, it makes noise."
I gave my son, so my middle son moved into a new house. He bought a house with his girlfriend, and so they moved in, I don't know, about a month ago. And he was like, yeah, I got to get a mower. He goes, I want one of those. I didn't even say anything to him. He's like, I want one of those manual mowers, that no gas. and have to worry about charging the reels. Yeah. I'm like, it goes that kind. He's like, yeah. I'm like, oh, I got one in the shed. Like, I never use that thing anymore. I bought it one year thinking like, I'm going green. I'm going to mow the lawn, with this thing, and it's going to be great, and it's better for the lawn. So I never think I got the thing configured right. Like I just mowed it out of the box, but it didn't really ever cut right. So I just think I didn't configure it. So it just sat in the shed. So I went over to his place when he moved in, and it was super long. And I'm like, well, you will never cut that grass with that mower. So I'll cut it the first time for you. So I took my gas mower over and mowed it for him. And then I'm like, okay, it's on you, good luck. And I've asked him a couple times, how's that lawn? He's like, oh, it's okay. It's fine. I haven't been over to check it, but I know like
growing up and up and up.
Oh my God. That is it works great if you mow often, and you really got to have those things sharpened and tuned up well. Otherwise, otherwise they just don't cut very well.
And a small lawn.
Yeah, he's got a pretty big lawn. His lawn's almost bigger than mine. And it was like, well, and I have Zoysia, so it cut that Zoysia really, really well because that Zoysia, stands straight up. And so it cut it. I mean, it cut it nice. It was clean and and but it didn't cut the other lawn that was kind of droopy. Not as good. But he's got it. It's his. I gave it to him. I'm like, here you go. I'm just wondering how long it will be before he works for Menards. So he'll get a pretty good deal when he goes to buy a mower that he wants.
Yeah. Or he can get you a grill.
Yeah, it gets complicated. Like Menards does not make it easy for, their employees to buy things because they take it out of their paycheck. You can't just go in and buy it. You have to buy it on like payroll deduct.
Oh, really?
And yeah, it's weird.
Even clearance stuff?
Yeah, well, no, he could buy. I mean, he could go pay. He wouldn't get any extra discount if you're going to get any Menards discount, it's got to come through payroll deduct. And so it's really weird the way they do it. I was like, hey, yeah, I got a kid that works at a hardware store. And he's like, no.
Well, and that sucks because, like, if you wanted to buy a bigger ticket item that you would usually maybe put on your credit card and pay off over a few months, like, that's not really an option. You got all of the money.
Yeah, no, it's just weird. So I was like, well, I don't know. Menards stuff is cheap anyway. So, you're kind of like, well,
I think a lot of guys are.
Go ahead, Mark.
A lot of guys are getting Chargriller acorns at Menards for cheap.
Yeah,
like $150.
Yeah. Oh, I think that acorn I saw was 170, maybe.
Yeah.
So
I think Schoonover wants
one. We don't have those over around here. Menards.
Yeah. Kevin, it's a Wisconsin company.
Okay.
Kevin says Menards is convinced all of their employees are stealing from them. It's probably true.
Even the ones who are convinced that they are stealing from them?
That's right. Well, it's true. They are all stealing from them. I'm sure there's. Can you imagine a big box hardware store and just how much stuff flies out of there?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure it's not limited to just hardware stores. It's everywhere.
Yeah, but I would think like a Best Buy would be harder to just be. They tag that stuff and
RFID.
Yeah. But you have a big hardware. Menards has got a big lot in the back, and they all do, like Lowe's, Home Depot. They've all got big lots in the back, but somebody pulls their truck in and a snow shovel ends up back there, or some wood.
How are you like? Have you had Zoysia all along? Is that what your grass is?
When we moved in 20 years ago, the neighbors had a lot of Zoysia, and she said to me, "Hey, if you ever want any of this, you're welcome to come over and grab some plugs." And so I bought a little bulb, a little bulb extractor, or planter, and that was the perfect size to start grabbing plugs. And so every year I'd grab a few, I'd go and pull out plugs and then bring them over into the sunny spot in my yard. Her yard eventually shaded over completely, and of course Zoysia won't grow very well in the shade. And it just grew into my yard, and then eventually all my plugs filled in. So about 5 years ago, the whole front went completely Zoysia for the most part.
A few weeks before we went to Alaska, I bought 3 pallets of grass, 2 Zoysia, 1 Bermuda. We have to have Bermuda in the front, according to the regulations. So I put, there were some sections that were dying off, so I put the Bermuda out front, and then in the back, 2 pallets wasn't quite enough. I'm going to have to buy probably 2 more this next summer. And I put those 2 down, and I bought the most shade tolerant Zoysia they had. They had a version of it, Zorro or something like that. I don't know if that's regional, but it was, I think it only requires 3 hours of sun a day.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so it's pretty shade tolerant. And man, I've never had Zoysia before, but that stuff is just fantastic.
Super good. Yeah. Like I can sleep on my lawn. Yeah. It is so soft. My neighbor walks down the street in his sandals, and he takes his sandals off and he just walks across my lawn. He's like, oh, this is so good. And it mows incredible. Like if you want that flat looking, just like a laser flat, it is so. I have to bag it because it's so thick that you don't want to necessarily be recycling it back into the grass, and it creates a lot of thatch. Mm-hmm. So you got to kind of handle that. But oh man, Uyghur, you got to come over and see my front yard, man.
I was gonna say now I got to come test out your grass,
dude. You would be like, I'm sleeping here tonight. It is so soft. And I've paid nothing for that grass. I mean, it was just, it all came over, and I started. What I would do is I would, the other grass would get bare spots in it, and so every time I get a bare spot, I just put zoysia from my neighbors. And then one year, I had enough that I could pull plugs from it, and I ended up pulling plugs and then adding loam and some other things into those holes to kind of, get because we're on clay here in Bellevue. It's all clay soil. It's just the crappiest soil. So I was trying to recondition the soil to get it back, and it worked out pretty well. Those, mixed a little sand and a little topsoil together and filled it in those holes, and I get some water into the area. We had an area where the neighbor kid had spilled some oil on the grass, and basically it was just a hazardous waste zone, and nothing would grow in it. Well, I fixed that over time by just pulling plugs out of it and adding new. I'd pull plugs and add new soil to it.
Does yours grow? Does it spread?
Yeah, it does. Yeah, it spreads aggressively. And so if you have any spots, during the hot, and it grows during the hottest time of the year. The big drawback is it gets cold here, and then it goes dormant. And
so our Bermuda that we have up front does the same thing. So really from the street, you can't tell what's Bermuda, what's zoysia. I know both will go brown in the winter. But I bought 3 pallets and had to put it all out myself. I bought it. It arrived like at noon on a Tuesday, and I had to get it all out because I had to work the next day. So I started at noon, didn't finish till like almost 9 o'clock that night. I was wiped out. 3 pallets.
That video too.
Yeah, I did a time lapse with the 1 pallet in the backyard. That was just 1 pallet.
It's some work. It is. We had a neighbor out in Linden Estates here, which is a really nice subdivision out here in Omaha. He was cutting lawn. He was putting in berms. And so he was cutting the lawn out before he put the berm. Most people just put the dirt on top of the grass and let it die. No, he cut it out, and he's like, hey, do you want any of this? I'm like, yeah, because we had just cleared some spot on the deck. So I put that grass in the back. Man, that grass has been just the best grass. That section, you can kind of still see where it is. But I'm to the spot now where it's fall, so I probably need to overseed. And we have had the best summer for grass, Mike. Your grass has got to be going gangbusters.
Yep.
Do you doing any lawn care system, Mike Weger?
Yeah, we use Heartland Lawn.
Okay, so they're coming and spraying and
they come
fertilizing.
I don't even know how many times a year and do their different fertilizers for the different types of the year.
Yeah.
And
Mike, Mike Howard, do you have a lawn service at all?
Yeah, a few years back, I started with True Green, and funny story. After my lawn, the sod I put down out front was almost fully with its roots growing into the soil and everything. And True Green had sent me an alert they're going to come out and do aerating. And I said, no, do not come out and aerate. They came out anyway while I was at work. So I came home, and I guess when they aerated, it ripped all the things back up, and the guy just shoved it back down. So it's like, so that delayed some of the growth there with that. But yeah, I use True Green only to do the putting down the fertilizer and that kind of stuff. I still cut it all myself.
Mark, do you use any lawn service?
No. 3 years ago now, we ripped up half our lawn, and we always had a problem beneath the big shade. We have a big apple tree in the backyard, and it's an apple tree sitting behind another birch tree, another apple tree, and behind it is a cedar hedge and then a house in front of it. So it's a really bad shady area. So a couple of years ago, we ripped up all the soil, graded it, had fresh topsoil put down, fresh seed put down, and now you can't even tell where it was. It's as bad as it was now as it was. It's as bad now as it was before. So we've done aeration before. We've done fertilizer. We got a mixture of probably 7 different grasses in it. We have really high temperatures in the summer, really cold temperatures in the winter, and sun and shade issues.
Yeah.
So
it's tough business with getting getting the house ready to sell. I kind of thought, well, hey, I'll get ahead of this thing and, I'll just do it myself. I looked into some lawn services, and then I started reading the things on Yelp, and I'm like, oh God, I'll just do it myself. It's just a lot easier. So I've been following the Scott's program, and then I've been doing heavy overseeding on most of the summer when it was, we can kind of see the rain coming a couple weeks out. So I was like looking at the calendar, like, okay, I can get this in there. And man, I have had the best luck. And I just put down some weed and feed this last weekend, and I went out and looked, and a bunch of the crabgrass and some of the other things were just wilting, and I'm like, yes. And then some of the cooler season grasses are really starting to come out, and I was like, yes. So I've been lucky, and I'm going to overseed again, and then I'll overseed again in the winter, and then I'll probably overseed again in the spring, just because I want to get that curb appeal, bam, when they like.
Are you punching holes in the ground before you seed, or how are you doing that?
No, in this case, I have a fairly uneven backyard, and so as I just throw the seed in, it settles into the crevices, and as long as it's touching soil, I have a lot of soil. I had a lot of soil exposed, so it was just growing that way.
You guys have any environmental people telling you can't use certain pesticides, herbicides, and all the rest of the stuff?
Oh no, I use Agent Orange everywhere to get rid of my weeds.
We got so many bans on pesticides and herbicides, and everybody's got like literally fields of dandelions now because of it.
Oh, Mark, we live in Nebraska. Like,
I pour gasoline
set it on fire.
Yeah.
Well, it's I mean, the farmers, they're spraying Roundup, and
they can still do that. We just can't.
Oh, yeah. Oh, well, shoot, who's gonna know?
Well, you can't even buy it.
Oh, well, yeah.
It's banned in the stores. You can't get any pesticide or herbicide, and it's like province wide. You have to go to the States and smuggle it back in. People actually smuggle it back in gallon washer jugs. They go to Walmart in the States with an empty gallon washer jug, pour the stuff into it, and smuggle back in weed.
Jim, here's our side business. I think we found our new source of income. We're gonna start smuggling pesticides up to Canada.
That's the funniest thing I've ever heard. Smuggling pesticides and
smuggling in
pesticides and herbicides.
What's the weed? What do we call that stuff?
Roundup.
Roundup. Yeah. Smuggling and wait, what do you got in the box?
It's milk. Drink it then. Shoot.
Dang. And that's the ironic part is that the border guys don't care because it's not a federal thing; it's provincial.
Drink it. That is so great. What is that milk? Drink it.
Damn it. I'm really calling my bluff on that one.
Selling it for $50 an ounce. Let's see. Can I afford printer ink or Roundup? What's the?
You can head to the cheap part of town and get yourself a hookup.
I know. You're cutting it down. They're like, what are you doing? I'm cutting down the Roundup.
Here's your bag.
Anyway. Stuff you're gonna find.
Oh, you're selling baggies of Roundup.
Dime bags of Roundup
behind the Walmart there in Canada.
And that's the other part. You still buy Roundup, but it's not the same Roundup that existed when I was a kid.
Yeah. So well, I think DuPont, right? That's a DuPont product.
Is it? Yeah.
I think it is, or isn't it? Or Dow
or Monsanto.
Yeah, I think it's Monsanto. Yeah,
they have to stay ahead. Like they're always testing that because they have to stay ahead because stuff gets resistant to it, and so they have to kind of stay ahead of kind of checking it. Like, hey, what's because stuff will mutate and then pretty soon it's like, well, I mean that's basically what we did to our corn is we mutated it so that it was Roundup ready, and they just spray the whole field, right? And then the corn's like, oh, whatever, I don't know what the stuff is. So it's so they're always checking and got to stay on top of that stuff. I just can't. It's so funny. Roundup is like, oh my god, that's great. Well, hey, if you're listening live, been a long day, and we're gonna cut you guys loose. We'll end on a funny moment. Thanks for coming out tonight. You guys hang tight for just a second. And we'll see you guys next week. I wonder who's up next week. Let's look at this really quick. I think Rich Hay is here because Ignite is right now. And I think we've got Rich Hay coming up next week. It's on the list. I could look at my own calendar. Yeah. Rich is here next week. We'll see you guys.
Good night.